Today we're in for a treat. We have the honor and privilege of being joined by Hank Hernandez. Hank is a retired lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army. He started his career as a clinical nurse, had specialty training at Baylor, and became the CEO of two of the largest hospitals in El Paso, in two of the largest hospital systems in the country. Hank has unique insight into what it takes to become one of the greatest epicenter programs in the country, and he's here to have a candid conversation about health and women's health in the borderland.
Dr. Rich and I met, it's been about 20 years ago. Quite frankly, I was leading one of the large hospitals in El Paso. Dr. Rich was an individual that I was looking to recruit to build a robotic program. While I have some clinical expertise, I'm certainly not a surgeon. When I looked at the credentials that Dr. Rich had, he was the guy that I knew that we could build a superior robotic program around. And we met a lot of odds along the way, both administrative and clinical. But quite frankly, it was a great experience, and it's something that I would love to do all over again.
Yeah, I think that from very early on in my recruitment, coming back to El Paso, I had grown up here. My wife and I had done a visit here, and with the intention of building a robust program, and to have the good fortune of pairing up with a lead administrator who shared that vision. It was just this unlikely pairing that allowed for this almost fairy tale rise of building what became a national recognized training facility in West Texas. And as you said, there's a lot of odds that we had to overcome to get there, but it was having a partner in crime, if you will, that was dedicated as I was to just excellence and being the best and providing the best for our patients and our community. It was an amazing experience. I don't know that it would have happened if one of the two components was missing, but it's been an amazing ride. And as Hank had transitioned to the other large hospital in El Paso, we recreated the same epicenter process all over again. And so it's just been such an amazing journey. Really, you think about all the blessings that you need to count to have arrived at where we did, and couldn't have done it without you. Really appreciate it.
Well, I want to go back to what I was saying a few minutes ago. I knew you were being recruited all over, not only Texas, but all over the United States. And I didn't want to let you go, man. I thought that our first, when we first got together, I knew that we could build this robotic program together. I knew that I would be your go-to guy to fight the administrative challenges, if you will. And I also knew that we had a lot of obstacles, really with other surgeons, your competitors. But to get them to understand that this is kind of a program that requires, while we did build this program around you, it really, quite frankly, we brought in competitors, we brought in other physicians who practice like you did, and we got them to understand the benefit of developing robust credentialing standards. Recall that?
Yes.
And that was quite interesting, but we did it, and we kept pushing forward. And quite frankly, both Dr. Rich and I, the thing that we continued to focus on was that we're just not going to let any surgeon operate on a robot. He or she is going to have to meet some really good credentialing guidelines, because at the end of the day, it was our names on this program, and we wanted to make sure that those surgeons were fully capable of operating, and that to ensure that we had great quality outcomes. That was what we continued to focus on.
Yeah, and that's the absolute cornerstone. And it was met with some resistance. People didn't want to have necessarily their privileges require an element of currency, like having to do a certain number of cases. It was a new idea at the time. The guidelines had just been published.
They were being created as we were working on it.
We were one of the first,
Yeah,
ones in the
exactly.
country to do it and implement. And, looking back 12 years, 15 years later, how much further
Yeah.
we went just by raising that bar from the
Exactly.
outset. Because that's number one, is the patient is number one. And we
Patient
have to make
outcomes.
sure that we ensure not just good outcomes, not just outcomes that our competitors are doing, but, to be the best.
Exactly. And the other thing I liked about it when we first met is that I recall us talking, and I said, not only bring in some of your competitors, and that's when I use that term, that's natural in the physical practice, if you will. But we also collaborated with Army surgeons, both of different specialties. We brought them in. We created a robotic council.
That's right.
And it was very collaborative, and quite frankly, it had never been done before. I can't think of, I've got many friends who run hospitals across the United States. I can't think of one that can tell me that he or she created a collaborative robotics council that had not only private physicians, also physicians coming from the academic sector, but more importantly, physicians coming out of the military.
Yep.
I look back, and I'll always remember those great days. Those were awesome days creating the robotic council.
And there's always a lead, right? But then the key is just to have that collaboration, because great ideas come from everywhere. And holding everybody to a higher standard and giving everybody a voice.
Exactly.
And, having the opportunity to meet together at, scheduled intervals to look and see what can we be doing better.
Right.
How can we take what we're already
a
doing?
peer review in essence. The other thing I'd like to focus on, you recall us developing the whole robotic team. I mean, we could probably talk about that for another couple of hours.
Yeah.
But I mean, your leadership skills and bringing the scrub techs together, the circulating nurses, all of the anesthesia.
Right.
Because for anesthesia, they looked at this as like, oh man, we could do a laparoscopic case in no time compared to this. So there were a lot of baby steps. Well, we brought this collaborative team together, and I'd be willing to bet a $100 bill that the robotic team that we had at that time was the best in the state of Texas.
Well, and the maker of the surgical robot, Intuitive Surgical, if you recall, John Conta, who was in that leadership role at the time, came out to El Paso, and I don't think it was lip service. He said, "This is. I mean, I've been everywhere. I've personally installed every epicenter in the country, and there's nobody better than this team."
Yeah.
So that was, certainly a feather in the cap.
Those were great days, and again, the kind of quality care that was provided to our patients was our number one goal, and I just look very fondly on those days. Absolutely.
So I think if I can answer what kept this going, and I would say in one word, is passion. I just have just a fire in the belly to be as close to perfect as I can be every day, to get up, go to clinic, go to the OR, be who that patient needs in that moment when I'm with them. There's nothing else. Make them understand that, I am there to serve and address their needs. And on a hospital scale, how do we get all of the technology that we need to make sure that we can offer the latest, the greatest, the best? We did a research trial where we were the first in the world for a safety dye that helps prevent ureter injuries. And, just all of these things that you wouldn't necessarily expect out of El Paso, but I think it was just a constant commitment and dedication.
I don't think I could say you chosen a better word, passion. Equally, I was told by my superiors as I continue to advocate for the purchasing of these robots. As you can imagine, this is a very, very expensive piece of equipment. And I continue to advocate for new technology. And as that was procured and it was delivered on time for us. And as Dr. Rich continued to outperform really all of our financial metrics, my issue was to continue to advocate for the next generation of robots. And I had been told many times, I'd been called sort of a bulldog for advocating for this, but I think passion is a great word, because I just saw that this was providing robotic surgery and having under the auspices of minimally invasive surgery and providing this surgery technology to our patients was something that to this day, even though I'm retired, I keep up with the literature. I like to keep up with Dr. Rich and some of the advances he continues to make. And so I agree with you 100%. Passion is probably the best way to describe how we continue to develop the program going forward.
So what is an epicenter actually? So the maker of the surgical robot, Intuitive Surgical, designates sites based on their quality outcomes and volume of the surgeon, but also they look at the hospital. They make sure that the administration, from housekeeping to anesthesia to scrub techs to nurses to pharmacy, everybody's bought in to the mission, and part of that is the console, to be able to meet and optimize ways to improve patient outcomes, to still be one of those places that surgeons from around, not just Texas, not just the country, but around the world, can come to observe best practices and to take that and improve their patient quality outcomes. That is definitely a gold star for our community.
Absolutely. Not only do they come in and observe best demonstrated practices, but we were talking about earlier, they observe the OR turnover.
That's right.
They look at how quickly do you turn an OR over to the next case. Does anesthesia have their act together and start prepping the patient so that the surgeon can come in and get the ball rolling, if you will. So the epicenter is the epitome of everything that's just really great about having this defined service in 81 hospitals. So to have an epicenter designated at your hospital is a really big deal. And quite frankly, the work that we did together to get there and surpass many of the obstacles that we had, and to continue to train people along the way was much deserving of that award. Having epicenter designation is a really big deal. Absolutely.
So a big thanks to Hank for joining us in the studio today. If you found this conversation helpful, please like and share. Please also subscribe to enjoy more great content.